Greetings, fellow Gorehounds. So while it's true the Writers Guild have reached a tentative agreement and will most likely be ending their strike soon, SAG-AFTRA, the Actors Guild, is still currently on strike, so I'm going to include a link to them and to the Entertainment Fund in the description below so that you can help them out more directly. And as I've been saying a lot lately, f the corporates, support the unions, and let's get to this review. Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog.
I'm Count Jackula.
He's Count Jackula, and today we're going to talk about A Wounded Fawn, which is another Shudder original horror movie, but this one was directed by Travis Stevens, who some of you may know as the director of Jacob's Wife and The Girl on the Third Floor, and the producer of a whole slew of horror films that we loved, like We Are Still Here and shit like that.
Yeah.
He's produced a lot.
Yeah. Of the movies he's directed, I would say this is my favorite.
Oh yeah, this movie is phenomenal. Do not let the name discourage you from the movie, because you hear A Wounded Fawn and you're like, okay, what exactly is that? It doesn't give you context that it's like a horror movie or that it's a horror movie that's as fun as this one is.
Yeah, you expect it to be like really super serious with a title like that.
Yeah, and it is.
It gets that serious, but it's also just really funny and
like,
ghoulish.
Like Girl on the Third Floor, the ghoulish element is there.
Yeah.
There's another piece of pedigree to this movie that's very important that I want to point out that I don't know if you're aware of.
Oh, I don't think I am.
The main character of this movie is played by Josh Rubens. Do you know who Josh Rubens is?
Not offhand.
He is the director of Werewolves Within.
Oh.
So this movie's got some double pedigree going on there.
Okay.
So the long and short of it is, this movie is about a serial killer who invites a woman to a cabin in the woods, and then weird, surreal shit happens from there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you were to make Evil Dead 2, but you got Michele Soavi to direct it.
Yeah.
And you removed the Deadites and replaced them with 3 goddesses, and you removed Ash and replaced him with a serial killer who's paying for his sins.
Yeah, that's a little convoluted.
It's convoluted, but if you think about like the energy and the kind of like escalation of Evil Dead 2, of the guy being tormented and slowly going more and more crazy as the entities that torment him escalate in the weirdness levels, that's kind of what this movie is.
Yeah, and the movie surrounds the idea of the Furies.
It does.
Greek Furies.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoy this movie.
It's a really good one.
Unlike Perpetrator, which we just vlogged recently, this movie I feel like I can recommend to most people.
Yeah.
Even though it is still an art house style film.
It's an art house style film where men are the villain.
Yeah.
But it's way easier as a male viewer to let yourself off the hook, because this dude is like killing and torturing women.
He is a straight up serial killer.
Yeah,
like, you know,
because he is just a serial killer, you're already like, obviously this isn't talking about me. This guy is super nuts.
If you were to remove all the art house elements, this would be a great like Tales from the Crypt story, right?
Yes.
You know, serial killer tries to kill a woman in a cabin in the woods, ends up evoking the wrath of 3 Greek goddesses.
Yeah. Who then come down to torment him.
Exactly. Ultimately getting his just desserts by the end of it. And what that is, we'll explain by the end in the spoiler section.
Yes.
Josh Rubens is great in this movie.
Yes.
Watching him slowly just kind of descend into the madness of this movie, it's not quite on the level of like Beau is Afraid, but it's certainly...
No, but it's approaching. It's heading in that direction.
It's certainly somewhere in between Ash in Evil Dead 2 and Beau is Afraid. He's sitting.
Yeah. Yeah, like that level of insanity. Mm-hmm. This is a movie that eventually starts playing very fast and loose with reality.
Yes.
This movie does not explain itself. It only explains itself metaphorically. It will not tell you what parts are real and what parts aren't.
But some of it has to be real, and I'll get to that in the spoiler section, though.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why some of it has to be real, even though some of it's clearly him losing his mind.
Yeah.
I had so much fun with this movie.
Yes.
It's not every day you talk about an art house film being fun, but there's something ghoulish about this movie.
Yeah, this one's super ghoulish and super entertaining. It's a very, very, very interesting mix.
Yep.
Because it would essentially be a rape revenge movie.
Yeah.
You know,
to a certain extent.
Yeah, to a certain extent. Even though there's no on-screen rape or anything like that.
No, but the idea of it is there.
Yeah, the idea.
Even if it doesn't actually happen.
Yeah.
The idea of it. Because we're talking about a man that regularly tricks women into thinking that they're dating him and kills them.
Yeah.
So there's a violation there on a deep personal level, whether or not you want to call it rape.
Yeah. And then it gets weird and gory by the end of it.
This certainly gets gory. They obviously were dealing with a limited budget, but they make use of that budget hardcore. Yeah. I did not expect this movie to get as bombastic as it gets by the end.
No, in the beginning, it seems like it's going to be fairly contained and a little bit quiet.
The first, 20 minutes of this movie are a very quiet, small indie film.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, it's like you're watching art house Evil Dead.
Yeah, where you're just like, what the fuck? Holy, okay.
Absolutely.
Damn, all right, that just happened on screen. Holy shit. Yeah, the movie is set up in a prologue and 2 acts.
Yep.
The beginning is a prologue, and then you hit Act 1, which is all about the next girl, the next potential victim.
Yeah, you have an opening victim, and then you have the next victim, so to speak.
Yeah, we've moved forward a little bit in time, and now we've got this other victim that we're dealing with.
Holy shit, I just want to say, there was something about the writing and the acting of her and her group of friends that was just so likable.
Yes.
They are just really fun and kind of down to earth. You know, when they start talking about vibrators and shit, it's just okay, all right, I like these characters.
Yeah.
I like these characters a lot.
They're clearly there to represent, this is women not under the gaze of the men. This is them, but they're doing it in a public place
where there are guys watching and
judging them.
But they give zero fucks.
They don't care. That I thought was a really, really interesting choice.
They were so human to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's just oh, well, what do you have that's better than what we're doing on? Oh, I'm getting laid. Oh, shit. Tell us the deets. How big is his dick? You know?
Yeah.
And it's just oh, okay, all right. These people feel like real people to me. They feel like they're having a real conversation. They don't just feel like the type of annoying archetype I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, they feel real.
And that feeds into the rest of the movie, the dread you feel, because you've already seen the opening. You know this guy's a serial killer. But the dread you feel of her getting picked up by him, driving to the cabin, and then the initial making of dinner and the dancing to the music. And you're sitting there going just get out, lady.
Yeah.
Get out. You're gonna fucking die. He's gonna slit your throat. It seems like the house itself is telling her that too.
Yeah, it's the house itself is haunted, but not by a ghost.
Yeah, it's haunted by something, and it's something that wants her to know she needs to go.
Yeah, she needs to leave.
And it's clear it's not a malicious you need to go, like a poltergeist or something like that. It's no, for your own good, get out. You are in the middle of Jordan Peele's Get Out, and you need to leave.
Yeah, now. I'm trying to help you.
Which is really cool because you don't see many horror movies where the spooky ghost shit that's happening is actually a warning.
You don't usually see it trying to help someone.
Yeah, it's usually
right off the bat. Usually it's kind of spooky and weird. You don't know what it wants, or you don't know it's trying to help you until it's too late.
Yeah.
This one, just the first thing she experiences is the haunting telling her, run away.
Hell, sometimes it feels like the universe is telling her that before she even gets to the cabin. There's that dog that barks at her when she first walks out of her house.
Yeah. A dog, which by the way is part of the imagery of one of the Furies.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, exactly. And you're oh, okay.
And just to be clear, the imagery of the Furies and stuff like that is not a spoiler. The movie literally opens up with someone explaining what the Furies are.
Yeah.
Because it opens up on an auction on a statue of the Furies.
Yeah, this really cool sculpture of the Furies that is supposed to be from the Hellenistic period, but as an art history student, I'm no, it's not.
It's when a movie...
It was made much more recently. That's not Hellenistic at all. But whatever, right?
It's like when a movie opens up with a professor explaining something, that's going to have to do with the themes of the movie going forward.
Exactly.
So it's not a spoiler. That's there from the get-go.
They tell you right off off the bat, this is going to be important.
Absolutely. And then when the shit hits the fan, it just gets weirder and weirder from there.
Yeah, it starts turning into a fucking Argento or Fulci flick.
Yeah,
it gets weird.
Argento and Fulci's a good comparison because while I keep mentioning Evil Dead is mainly in like the way the main character, the serial killer, is tormented, right?
Yeah.
Like he's being tormented like Ash is in the Evil Dead movies. But in terms of what's actually tormenting them, it feels more like Suspiria fused with
or like City of the Dead.
Yeah, or The Beyond. Like it feels like an Italian horror film happening around him. And this is helped by the fact that the artistic choices in like the way they shoot the scenes feel very Italian.
They do, and you could tell that that's on purpose because go out of their way to explain that the Furies exist not only in Greek mythology but in Roman mythology as well.
True. So naturally you get a lot of like the Argento and Mario Bava lighting where it's like bright green lighting on a wall or bright red lighting on a wall to represent something that's going on.
Yeah.
They put a lot of film grain on this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of film grain even though like the movie is set in like modern day.
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, did they actually shoot on film? And I honestly don't know if they did. If they did, rock on. But it's also obvious by the amount of film grain. If they did shoot on film, they filmed on the dirtiest film they could find.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a digital composite.
So I think they put some digital film grain on there.
I think so too, which is fine.
But here's the thing, even though it's a little excessive with the amount of like grain it puts on it, it actually does add to the atmosphere of the movie. And to me, I just eventually got immersed into the Italianness of it.
Oh yeah, it even kind of ends that way.
It does.
Like you can tell that the Italian like film influence here is very deliberate. I think we should move on.
We should move on to the spoilers. Alrighty then. So A Wounded Fawn is a Shudder original, so you can watch it on Shudder. I'm sure, like most Shudder movies, it'll eventually get a Blu-ray release if it hasn't already. But until then, check it out on Shudder and enjoy. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, let us move on to the spoilers. I don't know why I said it that way, but the spoilers.
Oh, man. Okay, so one of the aspects of this movie that is the only part that really confused me is that the main character keeps seeing this owl woman.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out what that was about.
Here's the thing. I actually have a thing on this.
Oh.
So the main character sees this owl entity, and the owl entity represents the part of him that needs to kill and hunt these women, right?
Right. Yeah,
or at least
that part.
At least that's what he tells himself. Because by the end of the movie, they make it clear that it wasn't just that owl thing, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But there's also a through line throughout the movie of Greek mythology and things like that. And the main victim of this movie, the one that we follow the most, who's not really the main character, but is the closest thing to the final girl of the movie.
Right, because the movie does that psycho thing where it switches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She talks about how when she was in college, she wrote a dissertation on how muses are bullshit. The myth of the muse.
Oh, okay. I got that it was she was talking about the muses, but I didn't realize it was against it.
And if you think by the end of the movie, because when the goddesses start to like appear, the Furies, when they start to appear, they take the form of his victims.
Right.
And one of them takes the form of her, even though she's actually alive. And one of the things it deconstructs over the course of the movie is the fact that that owl in his head that he says is the thing telling him to do these things, essentially his murder muse, is bullshit. It's just in his head.
Right.
It's a lie he tells himself.
Right. Yeah. I got that part. What I didn't get was the owl.
Why an owl?
Why an owl? Because
there might actually be like a thematic reason for this, but here's the thing. I honestly think they chose the owl just because they liked stage fright. Given all the Italian influence in this movie.
That's a good point. Okay.
I don't know if that's the actual reason.
Okay. Yeah. I'm starting to think, I think stage fright might actually be the answer.
Because the fact that the owl is kind of proven to be bullshit by the end of it.
Yeah.
Means that it actually might not actually hold any deeper meaning.
Right.
It's just his excuse.
Yeah.
Actually, it's entirely possible that the owl is a death spirit, a Keris, which is often described as having bird-like features. So, the more you know.
Plot-wise, there's actually not much to spoil about this movie because once you know the premise of the movie, the only question at that point is whether or not he survives or is forgiven.
Yeah, because like the last half hour of the movie is basically an acid trip. How do you spoil an acid trip sequence?
The only thing I could do is tell you about scenes I really fucking enjoyed.
Yeah.
My favorite scene in this goddamn movie, when the victim from the beginning of the movie, who is actually one of the Furies, when she shows up bare-ass naked
oh my God.
on that fucking heater.
Yeah, like literally burning her ass on it. And then the fucking smoke pipe turns into a giant dick snake.
Like a bird's mouth. Like it's it starts attacking him.
Yeah.
Which is the moment where I was like, oh shit, I just realized this is Evil Dead 2.
Yes.
This is Evil Dead 2, but instead of being tormented by deadites, it's these three Furies.
Yeah. Oh my God. That scene is so gnarly too. You watch her wiggle her ass on this like hot plate, and they have done this effect to the point where when she moves, it actually like you see her flesh stick and liquefy against it. You're like, oh.
That's also like the third or fourth time in the movie that heater thing has been like centered. Like there's a point in which he's like, you know, starting wood in the fire. And then there's a point later where like a hand comes out of it to like taunt him. And you're not sure if like the heater's going to have like a deeper purpose over the course of the movie. And then that happens. And you're like, okay, all right. That's why you kept coming back to it.
That's why we did this. Yeah.
Out of the frying pan into the fryer here.
Yeah. There's also like this like sub metaphor on that because she's straddling the
so it's like a giant dick, right?
So it's like a giant dick, and there's this aspect of like, you feel inadequate? Oh yeah. You know, and it's like, oh my God, this is beautiful. This is fantastic.
Now, you might be wondering, when we said earlier that you're not quite sure, like, what's real and what's not. Okay, so some of it has to be real for one reason.
Yeah.
And that's that when the victim, the main character victim that we follow at the beginning of the movie, when she enters the cabin, she starts seeing the Furies everywhere.
Yeah.
And they start, like, sending her warnings and shit. So she sees the Furies. So we know the Furies are actually there. And they're actually
they're not just in his mind.
Like when they start messing with the lights at one point in the movie, like it's clear it's not just in his head. However, when that character survives and escapes, before she does so, she smashes the statue of the Furies over his head. So he goes through most of the second half of this movie with literal brain damage. And every time he touches his head, he like enters...
Or it gets jostled.
He ends up in a surreal fucking dreamscape. You have the actual Furies tormenting him, but he is also losing his mind because his brain's literally leaking out of his fucking head.
Yeah, like fucking like Bad Taste style.
Yeah.
Like the brains are just leaking out of this guy, and you're just like, shouldn't he be like dead already?
And then there's a scene in which he's like interrogated by the Furies, right?
Yeah.
And they have him pull out the owl thing from his head. And it's actually like a piece of his brain. So he's pulling out a chunk of his brain, right? And this is the moment where it's just like, oh, I'm getting rid of this evil muse that makes me kill things. And now I'm going to be better. I'm going to be forgiven or whatever. But then it turns out, no.
Yeah.
You are not forgiven because the evil is still within you. The murderous intent is still within you. It was not that thing at all.
It's still you.
Yep. Which culminates into that glorious scene where they basically get him to slit his own throat over and over again. And the credits is just him constantly slitting his throat over and over again.
Yeah, while he's like writhing on the ground.
It's a one long take. To the point where you can even see the actor standing there getting a little bored towards the end of it.
Yeah, because it's like the whole credits.
Yeah.
It's like the end of fucking Pearl or Candyland.
Yep.
Where it's just like, yep, that's it. That's the shot. We're not pulling away ever.
I love the tree Fury. The one that's just
the one with the horns?
Yeah. The one that's just a bunch of like writhing vines. That was a really cool fucking costume.
Yeah.
This is just a good movie. A Wounded Fawn.
A Wounded Fawn, A+.
It came out last year, but we finally got around to watching it this year because we had the time now. So we did.
Yeah. That we didn't have a lot of other movies on the plate or shit going down.
And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube. Hit the notification bell on my channel and it will notify you whenever I stream. I tend to start between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We talk about all kinds of groovy and random things like horror movies, horror everything, weird movies, dumb thoughts that I have, and Transformers because they're more than meets the eye. If you like any or all those things, come down to the Count Jackula stream and make sure you're notified whenever I go live. You can also follow me on the X Twitter at Counting Jack. And you can also follow me on the TikTok at Real Count Jackula. That's what you should do. You should follow me on all those things, and I'll see you on the streams. How about you?
Y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram, Blue Sky, Mastodon. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema, and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go $1 a month, it can go a long way, or something like that. Whatever I usually say. And we will certainly accept more if you go more than $1. I lost it there. Whatever it was. Forgive me. We're recording like 3 vlogs in a row, so I'm a little punchy. Anyway, if you made it this far into the video, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag #StoveDickMonster. Use the hashtag #StoveDickMonster. That way I know. That way Jack knows. That way the whole world knows that you are insecure about your dick size. Sucks.